And you call me the Lava Drive guy.
So welcome to another episode of Not Your Daddy's Dealership. My co-host is in the trenches, and so I'm here in the closet by myself. And so it can go all kinds of different ways because I have a special guest with Mr. Steve Roessler from Drive Centric, the Live with Drive man.
That's right.
Welcome
And
to the show.
you're in the closet. Holy cow.
Well, we call it a closet. It's actually not a closet. It was supposed to be my office, and then I decided that I was going to be Mr. Big Boy, and I took the conference room, which is a massive office, but it was in between, so I could actually hear my BDC and actually be more engaged into the BDC. So I chose the big fancy office versus the closet.
That's cool.
And so now we have chairs in here, and we made it the podcast room. So we call it a studio, and since Frank Lopes was in here, he said, yes, you can call it a studio. So this is our studio now.
Yeah, closet is what you make it. It could be a studio.
Yeah, I mean,
Glenn Lundy's – a lot of things, though.
Yeah, Glenn Lundy's Rise and Grind started in an actual closet. So –
Oh, no kid. That's
funny. Oh,
funny.
no kidding. It was an actual closet.
Well,
it's going places.
We're trying to do something like this too. We're going to be building out our room. So I do want to have a little small room just for the sound and stuff, no echo. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So a comment was made to me not too long ago that this gentleman was a consultant for a dealership. And the comment was made that they were actually going to get rid of their CRM because the salespeople didn't use it anyways. And CRM obviously is your passion.
Yes.
With Drive Centric, and is also my passion, just running a business development center and business in general. I don't care what you're doing, if you're in real estate or any type of sales position, the CRM is kind of the holy grail. It is garbage in, garbage out. But what are your thoughts on that comment? Because I know there's a lot of dealerships out there that kind of feel the same way, that don't do enough training, that feel that the CRM is hindering them. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, it just makes my head explode thinking about that. I mean, I've been in sales for 25 years. I know I've been 5 years in automotive, but just from my experience, 25 years of different industries, engineering, medical, I've always used the CRM. And I think, you go out there and just research. If you get rid of your CRM, the opportunities that you're going to lose is what people don't know that is out there, and they should be fearful of. Because I can't even imagine not having a CRM keeping me on track. I mean, that's what a CRM is supposed to do is, if somebody says, give me a call in 2 months, I'm going to schedule a task for 2 months, Now I know the car industry, obviously the buying cycle is much different than like me selling a CRM, for example. But the idea is I got to keep the customers in front of me and what the next step is. So I don't have to regurgitate and ask them, oh, are you a baseball fan? Or, hey, did I get your credit app? Why do we have to ask the CRM should keep us on track so we don't have to regurgitate and ask the customer the same thing, because people get annoyed with that. I get annoyed with that. So if somebody was getting rid of their CRM because people don't use it, they're denying the fact that there's a problem with the product that they have in front of them. Is really what it's telling me. If people don't use it, look, if I don't go to the gym, I'm going to get rid of my gym membership.
Well, unless you have to actually go there and actually cancel it, and then there's people paying for that all along.
Well, right. But now the result of me not getting rid of my gym membership is what? Well, I'm not going to stay fit. Right. And that's what I'm just trying to give an analogy. I just thought of that right now because I know obviously Chris is all about working out and stuff. But I mean, that's the reality. Something's going to give. And I think if somebody said, man, I got to get rid of my CRM, it's just an expense. Well, and then the other thing, too, is I think the leadership of that store needs to help understand why the CRM is important. And I think sometimes that's what gets lost in translation. As a dealer, man, you're investing in a tool to help your salespeople make more money. So what does the CRM do for that salesperson needs to be conveyed so they understand why they're invested in it. I think is what's important.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, and then it goes like, what are you going to do if you don't have your CRM? Like, are you going to start going back to, I don't know if you can actually buy a Rolodex. unless you just go to like eBay or somewhere and find an old Rolodex. So
Right.
like it's one of those things where it has to be something that, number one, has to be a culture of CRM. And I think a lot of times with dealerships today, and we've had great times, so it's been able to be masked by great times. But last month, I think the last thing that I saw was about 18% that we were down. And so times are getting tougher. And so relying more on the CRM is going to become more and more important because, and it's always been important, but I think now it's going to be even more important because you have to understand that you have to continually follow up with customers. And if you don't have anything in place, it's going to be extremely hard because you're going to have to be, I mean, what else are you going to use? Are you going to use a calendar? Like what, like, are we going to write this down on a calendar on the desk? Like, I think a lot of times they just think that way. And it's obviously the wrong way to think because, the biggest thing is we spend a lot of money on CRM. It's a big expense inside of a dealership for functioning, a good customer experience and overall experience for the person that is in the BDC or the sales manager or the salesman. And so it is a big expense, yet it's one of those things where we spend, we've got 5 rooftops. If you take 3 times 5, you know how much you're spending if
Yep.
you're getting a CRM for $3,000 a month. And so it's a big expense, yet it's the one thing that we don't even think about. Like training on a CRM is like, I have been at 3 different dealerships, and I've had salespeople who have been using the same CRM for 5 years and didn't know anything on how to log a call or anything, how to do anything.
Yep.
And so, the CRM is very important. Why do you think that they just kind of willy-nilly, like they get the CRM, they switch companies because for whatever reason, like it's not working. The CRM sucks. Well,
Mhm.
maybe it doesn't really suck. Maybe it does, but maybe it doesn't really suck, and you actually you're not utilizing all of its tools.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's what they don't know is what they don't know, and whatever CRM each dealership is using. I mean, I look at the CRM as the heart of the dealership. It's been the heart of my business outside the car business, even though I represent one. But it really is the glue and everything. And now I have an appreciation of just the automotive industry on how many things connect to the CRM. If somebody switches inventory tools, I mean, they better tell me. Otherwise, they're not going to, see the stuff inside the CRM. So I just can't imagine not having the CRM. But if there are tools that, like for example, and I don't know if I told you this in the past, Josh, but right now one of the things that I'm doing kind of like a study on is I'm looking at what dealerships are doing on an activity side, going from one CRM to another CRM, and obviously it's ours. But I think the customer is changing communication. And if the 40% of customers that are going to be buying a car in 2020 are millennials and Gen Zs, how do millennials and Gen Zs communicate, Josh?
Text message.
Exactly. They're not going to pick up the phone, but yet we still have BDC departments that say make 100 phone calls to get hardly anybody picking up the phone because of all the spam and customer change. Nobody picks up the phone. Nobody picks up the phone. Everybody's busy. So we're going to communicate. And email, let alone, let's just figure this out, right? Email's kind of dead. I mean, when was the last time you had a Super Bowl party and then sent an e-blast to all your friends and family because you would be a party of one? All right. So, I mean, it's just the communication and with all the CRMs. Now, texting, you got to do in the CRM, personalized video. I'm big about personalized video. We have 14 days to sell a car 80% of the time. And if the tools are outdated in that particular CRM, maybe you have to find the CRM that is modern to your customer base. Mm-hmm. That's what I just think if we're not texting a CRM, there's a reason for that. If they're, emailing and they're not getting a high engagement rate, well, maybe we shouldn't be emailing as frequently as we do, because it's not producing anything. But I know everybody wants to email. That's the way manufacturers get their disposition, the phone calls too. But, many of the dispositions now for many of the OEMs allow texting as a clock stopper, as form of engagement. So,
yeah, I think it's, when I'm looking at text, like, and running a BDC since 2012, I've been heavy, and I've had a lot of conversations about in reality, the bullshit make 100 calls, do this, do that, do this,
Yep.
and making it more of a combination of a lot of different things. Yeah, there are people that still like email. And so you have to appease the people who still like email. You have to appease the people that pick up the phone. And I do believe that there's a good chunk of people that still want to pick up the phone.
All
And
right.
then there's the text messaging capabilities and running that text messaging capability through your CRM, number one, because having people using willy-nilly with their device, which is not a good idea because
Right.
nothing's in the system.
Yep.
But running that text message and running it through the CRM is huge because I've always had this. So I have what's called the PET process. It's phone, email, text.
Mhm.
And when we get an internet lead, um, the moment we get it, we're ready to send the email. We're picking up the phone to call them, and then we're sending in. If they don't pick up the phone, we leave a message, and we're sending the text message. If that customer at that point starts to text us back, and we're starting to have text conversation, well, that's their means of communication.
Correct.
I'm not going to try to call that person because unless it reaches that point where I've asked for the, I've asked for, can I call you?
Yep.
Because this would go a lot quicker if we just get on a conversation. It's different.
Right.
But there's people out there, especially consumers today, that are in a conference meeting or the meetings upon meetings to talk about future meetings about the meeting. And so we're meeting heavy culture in a lot of different industries. And so they're in a meeting yet they're shopping for a car. They can text you, but they can't pick up the phone. And God knows that they get inundated with hundreds upon hundreds. If they're anybody like me and probably yourself, hundreds of emails coming into a day. And unless it's something that I'm looking for, I'm not really going for it.
Yeah, and I know everybody's worried about this customers being taken by another customer, but I mean, we're talking CRM, and it's got to be in the CRM. And I'll tell you, Josh, that you could use this at your stores. But I had this revelation literally last week, and I talked this over with a couple of dealers because I'm thinking about presenting on this idea. But I focus on the customer's experience. I do a lot of research on customers. My philosophy, based on the research that I'm seeing, is customers know what they want to buy. There's all this research available. They probably know more about the car than your salesperson. Let's be real. So if I can be, we always say, a servant, or, the less I know about the car, I'm focused more on the customer. And I would love to see people think about that. But yet in this world of BDC and the world of internet, I came up with this great idea given off of a movie, Hoosiers. You remember the movie Hoosiers with Gene Hackman?
Yeah.
I want you to think about this. When you get an internet lead, I would love to be able to identify, because at the David Kane show that it was just that, and I know you couldn't make it or whatever, but I was blown away by the people out there at secret shop stores, and the response from like over 100 dealers that these people were doing. The first they put up this juicy lead. I got this trade. I'm willing to put this money down. It gave them a really nice juicy lead. You know what the response was? When can he come in? And it was almost like that was the theme that needs to get changed. So I started thinking about that, brainstorming. And so I thought of the Gene Hackman movie where in Hoosiers, he told his players, 3 passes. I want 3 passes, right? Before you shoot the ball. So I started thinking about that one theme. The first one, when can you come in? How about we focus on 3 communications before we ask for the appointment? What do we do to get to know the customer? Can we earn the right to get that customer just engaged with me? If we know 90% of customers don't trust us, we have to earn their trust. And so I thought the 3 passes, starting a dialogue before you get the appointment, like, hey, how's your Thursday going? If it's snowing over there, what do you think of this snow? Especially if you know they're a customer in your market. I don't know. Is that unrealistic for me to even go out there and?
No, I think it's a personalized touch. And I think a lot of times because of the OEM forcing a lot of stuff down on the dealership, and they do a lot of things that are for the OEM, not for the customer, and sure as heck not for the dealership.
That's
I
true.
think a lot of times, like when you're looking at that first response, like if we're getting secret shopped, I know with Chevrolet, one of the things is that did they ask for an appointment? And if they don't ask for an appointment, it's like 10 points off of a review. And so I think a lot of times we do things for OEM because if not, it's like this little checkbox that we have to do. If not, we're going to get dinged for it when they do a secret shop, instead of
Right.
focusing more on the customer and understanding that you have to build that relationship. It's like going to the bar and asking for them to come back to the hotel room with you, and you just literally said hello. I mean,
Exactly.
it's the same thing. Like, hey, I know that you just made an inquiry on this car, and you've probably got a couple questions, because for you to put an inquiry on a car, there's certain things that you want to know, because you don't do it willy nilly anymore. Because
Right.
consumers know what we're going to do. We're going to call you, call you, call you, call you, call you, and so you have to earn that right to be
Yeah.
able to ask for the appointment. They obviously have some questions. It could be general questions. It could be availability. It could be a lot of different things. It could be
Yeah.
for them just to knock you off the list,
Yeah.
because they are shopping 3, 4, 5 different dealerships at a time. So they're just looking to see if you're going to be somebody worth doing business with. And so coming right out the gate, asking, and a lot of times we don't even read the lead.
Yeah.
Like that's one of my biggest pet peeves, is a customer talks about a trade, maybe talks about, money down or their financial situation. We never even acknowledge it.
Right.
And then
No,
we
I mean,
wonder why,
that's why,
when
like
we email them, it's nothing.
with some, yeah, exactly. I mean, that now the customer may say, maybe thinking, and again, I always think about it from the customer's perspective. Hey, I put this on the information, but then the question may be, well, did the dealership get this information, for example? I mean, it could be thinking that. I know we're always, that's why I always joke around when I'm working with the OEMs. Like, I know you guys have been saying to death, read the lead, and that's going to be obviously in the CRM, which is going back to what we're talking about. But, understand the customer's preferred form of communication. That should be in the CRM. You know what I mean? And if I can't just read the lead, then do me a favor, read the conversation. You know what I mean? And, believe me, I am talking to OEMs, like, I know, I'm talking about video, and you mentioned pet, but I would put pet with a V, you know what I mean? So because people want to know that, hey, you're a person, I mean, people buy from who they like. That is never going to change. And video is such a huge, huge component to that. And I don't know, but I can't imagine, I guess, going back to the original topic, is if I got all this communication, because you're absolutely right. I don't, if I look at the engagement strategies, again, I would take a look at this and make sure of this, but usually between 20 to 25% of customers are picking up the phone. Less than 10% reply to email. I see 35 to 40% engagement on texting. And then if you had artificial intelligence, that could be 50% right there. So if you get customers engaging overall at like 70 to 80%, you better know how every customer is communicating. So, you don't go off on a different channel. You're going to put this on Facebook. Well, my people on LinkedIn aren't going to be on this to watch this, podcast. So yeah, I'm going to have to put it on LinkedIn. You got to communicate on everybody's channel, and that should be in the CRM, because if I start making a phone call to somebody that doesn't pick up the phone, that didn't help me out without having a CRM.
No, and I think that's what gets a lot of what I call process deterioration, is when we create, tasks and things for them to do, and they're called. And our whole thing is, when you're talking to salespeople, if you have a BDC or you don't have BDC, but it's like, hey, go do your calls. That's the first thing they say. Go do your calls. And if they're not making those dials, then you're all of a sudden like, what? Well, you're not doing anything. Well, and they could be typing on their computer, texting customers back and forth, and not make one phone call, and you're going to be up their ass because they didn't make calls, so to speak.
Yep.
And I think that's where a lot of times, they're pounding the phones. If they're making their 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 calls a day, they get discouraged. They get
Yep.
discouraged after they get a 10% or 15% connection rate. And of those 15 that they get, they get hung up on. So then there's like, okay, well, why am I even doing this? And so then you get where they're just making calls just to make calls. And that's
Right.
what, a lot of times when I talk to my BDC, like your attitude and how you come across is key, because you could make that, you could be making those calls and different things and starting getting discouraged. And then the moment that you get somebody online, live on the phone, like you freak out and you don't know what to do. And
Yep.
like, you have to come to this as a purpose, like, like going through the CRM and doing your follow up. You have to understand there's a purpose behind it. And that is obviously to get an appointment and make sure that you provide the best customer experience for the customer. And then they get to make the right decision that's best for them. Hopefully it's with you, it might not be.
Yep.
And I think pounding that process of call. I've been that guy. I've been the call guy. I've been that. But as we've evolved inside the dealership, it's time to stop going down that route. And I mean, I've had argument after argument about calling people. I'm like, call me. I mean, Steve, you've
Yeah.
called me a couple of times. I
I
don't
get.
answer.
I
I'll
know.
stare at my phone
You don't
like,
answer, but you're texting. You're on Facebook Messenger.
yeah.
But you know what? Like, let me tell you. Like, let me give you my view. Like, this is my third startup company. Third startup. And I give all the success to all the companies I've ever been a part of, even before, when I worked for Fortune 500 companies. But all the success I give to really a CRM. And we just go back again, just kind of thinking, if I heard my competitors, like, and let's just pretend I'm in a dealership where your dealership is at that wants to get rid of their CRM. Man, I look at that as I would be encouraging then my competitor who wants to get rid of your CRM.
We were thinking about it too.
I mean, yeah, I'll tell you what, go give her your CRM. Dude, I'd be like chomping at the bit. I mean, I'd be going out conquesting so much more because your CRM is gold. I mean, and the problem is that's the thing is I don't believe that a lot of dealerships understand the kind of gold that, you spend so much money on marketing. We spend so much money to get these customers, acquired. And yet right now, like there's a topic and I'm very, there's some tools that we talk about within what we do that is what's called upstream marketing. Upstream marketing is used to create a subliminal message to a customer that says, I'm going to think about Josh when I go out there and buy a car because Josh gave me a great buying experience. And I'm going to shout from the rooftops that Josh is a great guy. He was great. The store was great. I had a great buying experience. I'm going to tell my friends, my family, everybody, because that's what people don't realize that happens. What dealerships focus on is today. What do we sell today? Nobody talks about all the upstream marketing, all these videos, all these podcasts and things that you and I are doing and, everybody else. It's creating upstream marketing. It's creating noise. And somebody, as we talked about before we jumped on this, is somebody's actually going to listen to this. You know what I mean? And, it could make an impact where they're thinking about buying a car from you guys, or, they're saying, hey, look at this guy's hair that they can't see because it's on a podcast. But the point is all these little things that we're doing from a marketing side are to create customers 6 months from now. Because the average customer, from what I saw with Google, the average customer is buying a car 17 times in a lifetime. So we're going to sell that customer maybe a car number 10 today. But 3-4 years from now, maybe they're going to be buying car number 11. But because we gave them such a bad experience, we're going to miss out on that opportunity. That's the way I kind of look at it. So even though I'm going out there and I'm selling a CRM, selling a CRM is pretty tough. The average buying cycle is like 6 months to a year. Yeah, it's timing. You're moving houses. But you know what I mean? That's what I say is it's a big deal that what we ask for. So I have to understand the timing, the pain points of things of customers before I ever go in there and ask and earn that right. And I sell something that's much different than a car, but I still respect the customer and I use my CRM, even though Josh, I've been talking to you for whatever, 3-4 years now. We're still buddies and you never bought from me, and that's okay. I can still be friends with somebody that doesn't buy because I know somewhere down the road, I hope to earn the business. And that's what I think we miss out on the opportunities. And that's the power of a CRM, because I know more about Josh. I know more about Glenn or whoever else. It's all in my CRM because I remember more about that customer because I'm visually looking at it. And you know where it is? It's in my CRM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think when you're talking about that upstream type of marketing, I think a lot of people, obviously in the dealership world, we talked about this last week with Glenn Pash, is we're in a 30-day window. That's what we live in, is in the dealership world. We live 30 days at a time, not thinking about the 6 months, the year. And there's a lot of times where maybe for whatever reason, you may not get that customer. I listened to a call with one of my reps today. It was a 41-minute call. He said, you need to listen to the first 10 minutes. I said, you seriously been on the phone for 41 minutes? He was like, yes. She called me. I couldn't hang up on her or tell her I had to go. I just listened to her. But the fact of the matter is that, consumers are looking for a better experience. They had a great experience with him, and it kind of fell apart somewhere along the process. And so she wanted to let him know. But now he's made a lasting experience. Not to say that, one day she might be back in the market and she thinks about Larry again. But we might get another shot because Larry made that type of, impact on her. And so it may not be today, it may not be tomorrow. Consumers sometimes bring themselves in the market, take themselves out, but being able to provide that better experience for them and developing that relationship is critical for that long-term deal. And just like when you sell a car, a lot of times when we sell a car, it's wham, bam, thank you, ma'am.
Totally.
And they never hear from that salesperson ever again. That is extremely important. Without a CRM, I don't know how you're going to do it. I'm not saying that you have to do all the happy birthday. That's what gets everybody bogged down. You got your happy birthday emails, your happy birthday calls, your anniversary call, the this call, the this call, the this call. I get that. But if you've never put anything in the CRM, if you don't know that they're a Steelers fan or a Patriots fan, God forbid now, because Patriots are failing miserably.
Oh my gosh, they lost 2 in a row. The world's collapsing.
The world is collapsing. When you're the greatest, 2 games in a row, you're done.
Yeah.
But if you don't talk about and put notes inside the system and tell the story and understand where they are and who they are, maybe you're never going to be able to reach back out to them. And maybe when that task comes up that you need to call them and see how things are going, that the Patriots finally won a game. And then you can go, hey, what about that game? It makes everything all the difference because, number one, the customers are like, he remembered I was a Patriots fan, or he remembered this about me. It makes more sense. And without a CRM, it's impossible. I can't even remember what I did last week. So how am I going to remember? It's the old age. I am a millennial, but I'm in the last end of it. So that's why I'm starting to lose my ability to remember anything. But, how else are you going to remember?
Oh, you're not. And you know what? Let me just point out that you're the customer that was on the phone for 41 minutes, and again, and this is what I think that we forget about because just like you said, we're in the moment. But that right there, what I would make sure you go back and educate your team on is that's a referral customer. That is somebody that we can go out there. If this customer, I can't remember if you said their name or not, but that customer could be a champion for the store. I always say the power of networking and the power of leveraging a customer that becomes a raving fan of your dealership because you listen to that customer. There's going to be customers out there that just want to talk. And if you're on the phone for somebody for 41 minutes, that's a raving fan of your salesperson. And that's somebody that I would call at least once a month, check in. Hey, by the way, maybe I could help you out, get a referral, $100 if you could give out referral fees. And screaming from the rooftops, who can you bring me? That might be, salespeople want people that want to talk to them, other than getting beat up all the time on price or somebody's, hanging up because I'm not in the market. That would be a refreshing call to do once a month. And if I could get a network of maybe, call it a dozen customers that bought a car from me, and I would make sure, I know we go into the CRM and we schedule calls every 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year. But man, if we had some raving fans and you had, a core group, I always say whenever I talked about networking, because I love networking, I could teach a course on networking, but your network is only as good as your strongest links. If you think you have this huge chain link, and you think you're working your network, you're not. You need a small network to create a powerful business. And that's what is the key to success when you're working for a small company. And let's face it, all these salespeople, we're all businessmen. We have a franchise just within the dealership. So it becomes my business. So that's why I always think, I hear a story like that and my hair stands up on the back of my neck, because I just think that's an opportunity where, man, I can just call this customer once a month and, you know, build a network through that person and get referrals and maybe help that customer out.
Yeah, and it's what's crazy about that whole situation is because, like, with my BDC rep, he started that entire conversation via text.
Oh, yeah.
99% of his conversation with this consumer was text message and video, because video is extremely important. And I preach it, maybe not as much, but close to be as much as you do, the importance of using video in your follow-up. But I think that's one of those things when you talk about video, they have to be able to be at step one. And I think a lot of times we jump too far into like, hey, add video, and they don't even know how to log a call in CRM. And so that becomes issues.
Well, right. But, you know, like video, I mean, everything is all about like, I always tell everybody whenever I'm working with a dealership, I always say is, like, for example, if you're going to do video, instead of saying, hey, we're all going to do video, I think what we have to focus on, just, you know, while we're talking about it, is pick out a segment. You know, for example, I can tell you that there's a store that 88% of the customers that got a video bought a car because of a confirmation video. How many stores out there, when you set an appointment, does the BDC send a video? Say, hey, I'm here at the, you know, I'll see you at 2 o'clock, but that customer at least replies back, say, well, maybe I'll be at 3 o'clock. Or I got the car all cleaned up, and now they can't make it. So you know what? You made the customer feel a little bit guilty because you did something for the customer. You personalize it, and then they can't show. And I know we get customers that don't show. We get frustrated, but at least they owe it to you maybe to reschedule. Because they committed once, hopefully they'll commit again. And there's going to be some that take advantage over it. But yeah, I always say is sometimes, and even with CRM, whether it's log a call, log an email, make a text message, send a video. I mean, sometimes you got to baby steps. Say, guys, we're going to get focused on this week and not bite off more than you can chew. And then eventually you get really good with your CRM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's what for everybody out there. I think it's, you know, there's a lot of different tools out there, from video softwares to CRMs to everything is. I mean, there's an abundance. You can 999 yourself to death as a dealer in this point in time. But I think when you're looking at utilizing a process and utilizing video or text messaging, I think you have to go all in on something very small. It can be a confirmation video. It can be a first introduction type of video. Like, master that and then move to the next step, because then you can build off of that instead of saying, puke, we're all going to do video and we're going to do 900 videos this week. And then you look up next Monday and there's like 6 of them done. And you're like, well, right. I thought we were going to, but because it's overwhelming when you throw that on from a sales staff to management staff to a BDC. It's overwhelming to shove like, hey, we're going to do this 900 times this week. Let's roll. I think you have to start small and then move forward that way.
Yeah, no, and let me give you a perfect example of this. And maybe this is where, you know, if your CRM is not a good partner, and I'm just going to give you, because again, I came from the medical industry, and I'll give everybody an analogy maybe. You know, you would never, if you went in for a spinal cord stimulation because you had neuropathic pain going down your leg, and I was that guy in the OR with the neurosurgeon capturing the pain going down your leg, and I would be doing electrodes and I would be masking the pain. And I would tell you that you as a patient, Josh, going in and having surgery, and I was the Medtronic guy, you would want me in that surgery with that neurosurgeon. You know why? Because the neurosurgeon's doing a lot of different things. I look at the neurosurgeon as kind of like the general manager. Got to be a master of everything, but you need a partner. And I was a partner to my physicians in that OR taking care of that patient. And so when you're going in for surgery, and which I consider like a CRM being a major thing, you want to have the right partner. If you got the wrong partner, maybe that's the biggest issue. So like, for example, there was a store that I was just on earlier, yesterday. They had 55 people that were checked in their showroom. Josh, can you imagine? I had 55 customers that were checked in their showroom. Some of them were in there for 7 days. Like, are you guys having a campground party there? What are you doing? All right.
Special finance.
Right. But I mean, he literally just appreciated the fact that I was telling him he sucked at one area. And I said, do me a favor, just go in there and check everybody out, because it's screwing up your business rules. Your people are not following. There's a lot of things that are coming out of you not checking them out. And I think that's what I did. I gave him 3 things to work on, to improve upon. better, easily managed. And then we can regroup in a month and make sure like, hey, everything's being okay. So just like what you're saying, take small steps is what I would tell you to do, and have your CRM hold you accountable. And I think dealerships do appreciate, like Josh, and maybe this is a good thing. If I tell you where you suck, hopefully that's a good thing, right? Because I'm the expert. I'm the CRM guy, and I'm going to tell you what you need to improve on, given data that I see from all across the dealerships. I can't imagine a dealership not appreciating that.
Well, I agree. I mean, I think that's one of the things is that taking that areas that you suck and just fixing them a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not like we're, fixing something as minimal as that can move you so much further ahead, as you go along, because, putting people in the showroom, not taking them out for 7 days. I mean, it mucks up the system. The data gets all screwed up because we're not utilizing it correctly. And then you pull reports that look like you really, really suck, and you really don't suck as bad as the report says.
Well, yeah, and it could have been just, hey, somebody forgot to check them out, or hey, it was a new CRM installation. So it was just a little thing. So, but again, we're not telling them they suck. We're just like, hey, man, this is why you want to do it, and what the problem is. It's no difference like when you're doing a source report, and you're doing all these dupes. You get maybe a lead that was duplicated. You want to give it to the right source. I mean, those are all the little things, and CRM is so complex today. Mm-hmm. So I think you got to leverage your CRM partner to help move the needle. And, let's face it, there's dealerships out there that look at CRM as just the expense, not as the tool as what it should be. But in 2020 soon, man, there's a lot of capabilities that many CRM companies have that prove it to be a resource for every dealer.
Yeah, and I believe that the next 5 years is really going to tell. I mean, the big are going to get bigger than the small will cease to exist, because if you don't get in there and understand marketing and understand your CRM and your customer base and the experience and everything that's coming about, I mean, it ain't going to be your daddy's dealership, because your daddy's going to have to sell it at that point.
With all the stuff going on with social media, I personally believe here in, who knows, 3 to 5 years, there may not be really lead sources. I mean, your CRM has got so much information. I mean, they'll, people will be using like more Facebook. You see Facebook coming in more and more these days. I guess you're still going to have particular, lead sources and things of that nature. Don't get me wrong, but I think all these third-party ones and things like that, they're, a lot of them are dropping. And obviously, how do I get more customers to the website? Let's be real. At the end of the day, that's what dealerships want, is getting those leads from the website. I don't know. And I just see a lot more things going in that direction. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next 3 to 5 years, though.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So if you've never done if you're looking for a CRM, obviously Steve is the live with drive guy. If anybody wants to reach out to you to look at the CRM, I highly suggest, and whenever I talk to people, when I do consulting or anything, I always tell people to take a look at the CRM, because it is impressive. If you've never looked at DriveCentric, or you looked at it 4 or 5 years ago, how long has it been out?
Well, officially 10 years, but really the user interface we got today is about 4 years old. But I
did the 4 to 5 year thing, right? Okay.
Yeah.
If you've not looked at it in a long time, it's definitely worth taking a look at. And if people want to reach out to you, Steve, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, we're always going to say text messaging, right? Because email is dead. So they can get a hold of me at 314-803-4334. You can private message me on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I am the Live with Drive guy. I've got YouTube videos. If you're looking to do some video training, there's some good personalized video challenges that I'm doing that can inspire your dealership 1 week at a time. Again, our goal is to be a resource. Our motto is talk to more customers, schedule more appointments. It's all about engagement, and it's all within the CRM. So
thank you so much, Steve, for being on the show. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you all have a great day, morning, day. I don't know, wherever you're listening to this, it's midnight. Get to bed. Thank you, guys.